Hi Patterson Library friends, this is Miss Amy. I have a special treat for you today. Instead of my regular story time, we have a special guest. A very nice lady came into Patterson Library a couple of weeks ago. She's becoming a new friend of mine, and her name is Lynda Graham Barber. Almost said it wrong. She lives right up the road from the library, and she is here today because she is an author of children's books. I've read a couple of the books and they're wonderful. And today she's going to tell you a little bit about herself, and she's going to read one of her stories to you. So I hope, just like we do when we're in person, we can give Miss Lynda a big Patterson Library welcome. And when we can get back together in person, we'll have her come again to meet all of you. So here comes my friend Miss Lynda. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me. And well, first of all, hello Westfield. And I think I'm probably one of the luckiest children's book authors alive, because we have bought a house about 15 doors away from one of the most beautiful libraries I've ever seen. Oh, how lucky you all are. And my favorite holiday is coming up, and I'll tell you why. When I was very young, I wrote a poem about Halloween, and a little later I sent it into a magazine called Humpty Dumpty. I don't know if any of you know that magazine, but they published it and they sent me $10, and that was my first published work. So Halloween has always been very special to me. This book, Say Boo, was published quite a few years ago, and the inspiration for this came from a bat. I don't know if any of you have seen pictures of bats up close, that they got kind of wrinkled faces. Well, one night I was in our camp in Vermont. I was reading in bed with a kerosene lamp, and a bat flew by my face. It was 9 o'clock at night, I remember. And he flew so close to me, I saw his face, and of course with the wrinkly up face, he looks kind of worried. And I thought, Halloween is in a couple of weeks. Why would a bat look worried? So I fell asleep, and the next morning when I woke up, I got a pad and pencil and I wrote the story. My brain must have been ticking as I was sleeping, and there was the story, and here's the book. And before I read it, I want to tell you about another of my favorite books. One day I was on the subway. I lived in New York City, and I had to take the subway to work every day. And I was sitting there and I was eavesdropping, which is kind of fun. I was listening to people talking in the next bench, and they were talking about a toad and a frog, and they said, well, there's no difference, a toad's frog. I'm thinking, I wonder if there is any difference between a toad and a frog. I got to work and I started writing down animals that were kind of the same but not the same, like dolphins and porpoises, moose and caribou. And a year later, I came up with the book. And then it took 3 years for the book to be published because of all this beautiful artwork. And I hope one day to share this with you, because this is a lot of fun. So now to Say Boo. And I hope you identify with Ben's story, because here he is. Ben watched his brothers and sisters swoop through the cave, shrieking and howling. But he didn't join them. All week long, Ben had stood in front of the mirror, puckering his lips. As hard as he tried, the little ghost couldn't say boo. Who's ever heard of a ghost who can't say boo, he thought. With a whoosh, Ben's brother Boris landed beside him. Come on, Ben, he said. Tonight's Halloween, and you haven't even scared anyone yet. I know, said Ben with a sigh. Sadly, Ben flew far into the forest where no one would hear him practice. He sat in a tree, took a deep breath, puckered his lips. Ooh! Ben's voice bounced off the tall pine trees. Hoo, hoo, yourself, said a high, clear voice. Ben looked up and saw a large owl sitting on a branch. I'll say boo. You're supposed to say boo. I know, Ben said, and he flew out of the forest and into a meadow where he tried again. He took a deep breath, popped up his chest, and puckered his lips. Moo, he bellowed. Moo, moo yourself, said a low, deep voice. Peering at Ben through the lush green grass was a cow. Cows say moo. You're supposed to say boo. I know, Ben said. I'll never be a scary Halloween ghost, he thought. He flew off and came to a long stone bridge. There he stopped, took his deepest breath ever, and puckered his lips. Coo, he wailed. Coo, coo, yourself, came a soft, sweet voice. A bird in a nest under the bridge ruffled its feathers and said, don't say coo, you're supposed to say boo. It's no use, Ben said, and began to cry. Oh! Ben flew back to the forest. Suddenly, a brown bat swooped down and landed on his shoulder, sort of like when the bat flew by me in the camp. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo, the bat mocked. What's this, a scary ghost crying on Halloween? Boo-hoo yourself, Ben mumbled. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo, boo. Hey, I said boo, he shouted. Boo, boo, boo. Eek, squeaked the bat, and he flew off trembling. Boo, boo, scaredy bat, Ben shouted after him. That Halloween night, when Ben joined Boris and all the other ghosts, his boo was the scariest of all. The end. So, Ben tried and tried and tried, and he finally got it right, which is sort of how I feel when I'm writing a book. It's not right the first, second, third, maybe not even the 100th time, but I keep trying, and so did Ben. Happy Halloween. See you soon.